The Borders and Borders hotline of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani here, manning the controls, riding solo tonight. So give me a call at 412-575-2600. We'll talk about this as the Penguins now fall to 88 points. That's still third, but Carolina does have 2 games in hand, and they have a head-to-head meeting coming up, and that's going to be a big game against the Carolina Hurricanes, who play well at home, and they're going to be in a position of really moving up and potentially supplanting the Penguins in that position as third, dropping the Penguins to a wild card. So it's going to be a big week as they go down the stretch. Let's get some calls rolling, beginning with Brad in Duncansville. Hey, Brad, long time no hear. How are you?
Good, Bob. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Liking the tie there.
It's fitting, but thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I have a Penguins comment and a Steeler question for you.
Mm-hmm.
My Penguins comment is, I think that the Penguins need to get better on defense, and if they're going to make a long run in the playoffs. And my Steeler question is, I know I heard that the Steelers signed Barron.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'll re-sign Bud Dupree, or do they going to?
Well, they already did. I mean, they did. The deadline came and went, and they decided to keep him at that $9.5 million.
Okay, because I was just wanting to know.
Yep, and that's why I think that people talk about Justin Houston. That's just the pipe. Too much money and money in free agency. They don't have anything left for him.
And my other thing is, you think Ben's going to get a long-term deal?
I thought it would have happened already. I don't know what the delay is because we heard that it was going to happen this week, and so far nothing. So I'm not sure why. But to your point about the Penguins, Brad, and thanks for the call. Yesterday, once again, I thought Murray was yanked, but their defense just gave up too much. St. Louis's defense beat the Penguins a lot of different ways yesterday, and tonight it was a case where the Penguins really had the better of play. They outshot that team 26-13 after 2 periods, and yet the Penguins, still were holding on. They couldn't capitalize some good chances. I give a lot of credit to Carter Hart, really good young guy. Why they're high on him in Philadelphia. He played well, and at the end, Matt Murray gave up the goal to Van Riemsdyk and Couturier. And to me, that's one he's got to make. But it didn't happen. So they lose a game I thought they were going to win. Especially those home games are painful. Let's go to Mike in Johnstown. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Good.
You kind of already stole my thunder there a bit. My question was, there's a guy that's on Twitter. His name is Gary Booker. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He says he's a Pittsburgh insider or something. And he stands by that the Steelers are signing Justin Houston, which I have no idea how with no cap space.
Yeah, I don't know how either. Try to explain that to me.
Yeah, he said it's a done deal. He said as soon as Roethlisberger signs his extension, it's going to free up money, and they're going to release a couple people. And this guy's, it's already a done deal. He's still standing by it. I didn't know if you knew who this guy was.
No, I don't.
Or if there's any truth to that.
I don't know, and I would be shocked. And it would take something of that nature. Thanks for the call for that to happen. They'd have to get rid of some people. And again, if you wanted to get rid of Bud Dupree and make that happen, I could understand it. But they chose not to do that. So that would make me wonder how they would do it. So we'll see, but I doubt it. John in Charleroi. What's up, John? How are you?
Hi, Bob. How you doing tonight?
Good. What's going on, John?
I got a question. I'm wondering if the Steelers want to move up and go after a guy like Bush from Michigan, would they maybe think about going in another direction and maybe picking up a corner like the greedy kid from LSU?
I think they want an inside linebacker. Yeah, I think Devin Bush is going to be the man I want, and I think they would want to do that too. Had a very impressive workout. They got a lot of options there, but I think they have the ammunition to trade up and do it, and I think they're going to trade up. It's been a while since we've talked about that. They hadn't done it really in the first round since Troy Polamalu, but if there's a time to do it, this would be it. Charlie in Allison Park. Hey, Charlie.
Yeah, Bob. How come when refs take the floor against Krzyzewski and Duke that they start to tremble because they think it's Gotti and his thugs? Zion Williams had 4 or 5 fouls before he got his fourth, and then after he got his fourth, he got at least 1 or 2 more, and they don't make the calls against Duke. Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, some of those are questionable calls that happen. Some of that's just, it goes both ways. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're afraid of the head coach because he's a legend. I just think it's part of what you get with a physical team. I think Zion Williamson is really good, and I think he showed that over the last 3 days. So I don't put much stock into what you said there. Let's go to Jim in South Hills. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Bob. Love the show.
Thank you.
Show.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to talk about the seedings in the NCAA.
Okay.
I've been watching the bracketology this evening, and Duke was the number one, the number one seed throughout the entire tournament.
Right.
And the best number 2 seed is Michigan State. That was acknowledged by the...
Some thought they would get a number 1 seed.
Yeah, and they were number 2 seed, but they're in the same bracket as Duke.
Yeah.
Duke's going to play them, in if they each team
the
wins.
regional final, yeah.
And so the director from the committee said that the reason that they did that was the region and the location in the East Coast. And I said, yeah, because I'm a big Duke fan, and I'm also a big Michigan State fan. And I'm thinking this is unfair kind of to both teams,
right,
that the 1st seed and the 5th seed are probably going to play, and that the NCAA made the decision to do that because it's convenient for them from a location. I'm sure it has to do with how many people are going to get and all that stuff. That I understand.
But
more than the...
I mean, you're going to have to, at some point, you have to play whoever is best in that region. And if that's the case, I thought Michigan State would be a 1. I didn't think Virginia would end up being there, although they took into account a lot of things, the whole body of work with Virginia. But I wonder about Virginia sometime. Thanks for the call, Jim. Appreciate it. Virginia reminds me a lot of Pitt in Pitt's heyday, where people were expecting big things, and even though they had nice regular seasons, they would go in there and then something bad would happen. It happened last year as they became the first victim of a 16 seed. I like their team a lot. I think they have more offense than they've had, for sure, and I think they still play nasty defense. The thing is with them, and Paul Zeiss made a good point on this when we had him on last week, can they win a game without having a guy who can be dominant? I mean, like a Zion Williamson. Like any of the teams that you see, North Carolina, Kentucky, even Tennessee, they have guys that can go games almost by themselves when the rest of the team isn't playing well enough. I don't know if Virginia can do that. Line 1 we go. Pete in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete? How you doing?
Hey, Bob, my man. How are you tonight?
I'm
a couple
good.
of things, Bob, real quick. About seeding in the tournament. There's not much difference between a number 1 and number 2. That only comes into play, Bob, if all 4 top-seeded teams make the Sweet 16. Then you're better off playing a 4 than playing the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you about Kansas, Bob. I know their first head coach was Dr. Naismith. He invented the game. Off rep played there. Why do they get such favoritism from the committee all the time, Bob? If they win 2 games, they go home to Kansas City and they're in their backyard.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Understand that.
I don't like that, and I don't think they deserve that. I think they're a good team.
No, they don't.
They don't deserve that. There's a lot of that. I mean, every year you can pick on it if you want, Pete, but I agree with you. I don't think they should be rewarded with anything like that because, quite frankly, they weren't as good as they've been, and is it because of reputation, history, whatever the case? I don't know, but if they get that far, they have an advantage, and I guess that's the way.
All right, my man. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. Let's go to line 5. That's JJ in Monroeville. What's up, JJ? It's your day. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks for taking the call, Bob.
Sure.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Kind of a lost weekend for the Penguins. Big 4-game road trip: Carolina, Nashville, Dallas, New York Rangers.
Yeah,
they
and
got
all
a
those are going to be tough. I mean, Carolina is just a really they're playing with a lot of passion. They're a fast team, but we'll see. That 2 points there is going to be big. Whoever gets it.
Yeah. One more thing. Congratulations to Rory McIlroy on his big win today.
Yeah, what a golf course that is too. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I saw 17. Yeah, both Fleetwood and Rahm went in the water. I thought Tommy Fleetwood was going to actually be the winner there. Didn't happen. All the way through, but yeah, the Penguins. That's a tough one, man. They got to make and listen. At that point of the game, Matt Murray's got to come up with a big save. He was good all night long. It was very similar to the game we saw in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field, where he played well, and then all of a sudden at the end, pucks find a way to get in the net. That's where they need him to be his best. But they did. And their power play was not good tonight. You can see that Malkin, his absence there was a problem. So they got work to do. They still do with 9 games left. And Carolina does have 2 games in hand. We're going to take a break. We have Dave, we have John, we have more coming up right here on Pittsburgh CW.